I want to ask you something honestly. Did you intentionally stand, or were you thrown out of your seats?
Johnny Carson made millions laugh. But behind that famous smile was a life filled with broken marriages, private pain, family tragedy, bitter feuds, and secrets he rarely explained. For 30 years, he ruled late-night television and became one of America's most trusted stars.
A lot of people have been asking me, well, not a lot of people, a number of people. Actually, I'll be honest, my wife, Alex, asked me recently.
Yet away from the cameras, his relationships were complicated. His temper caused problems, and those closest to him saw a different man. Years after his death, attention has turned toward the woman who stood beside him at the end. Join us as we uncover Johnny Carson's career, loves, losses, controversies, and the silence surrounding his final years. Johnny Carson's private world was far darker than his polished television image. Join us as we uncover the loves, losses, scandals, and secrets that shaped the man behind the laughter. The boy who learned to hold a room. John William Carson was born on October 23, 1925, in Corning, Iowa. His mother was Ruth Elizabeth Carson, and his father was Homer Lloyd Kit Carson, a power company manager. Johnny was the middle child. He had an older sister and a younger brother named Richard, better known as Dick. The family moved through several Iowa towns, including Avoca, Clarinda, and Red Oak, before settling in Norfolk, Nebraska, when Johnny was 8. That move became important because Norfolk was where he first learned how much he enjoyed entertaining people. At 12, he found a book about magic at a friend's house. He soon ordered a magician's kit through the mail and began practicing card tricks on anyone who would listen. He followed family members around saying, "Pick a card, any card." His mother even made him a cape. By 14, he was performing as the Great Carsoni before the local Kiwanis Club and earning $3 a show. It was a small start, but Johnny had already discovered something that would guide his whole life. He liked the moment when people stopped talking, watched him, and waited to see what he would do next. He also learned that confidence could be built through practice. The polished host America later knew did not appear overnight. He started as a boy repeating tricks until they worked. After high school, one story claimed he hitchhiked to Hollywood and was arrested and fined $50 for pretending to be a midshipman. The story has often been treated as doubtful, but it fits the image Johnny later carried, half serious and half mischievous. His childhood was not filled with cameras, famous guests, or huge paydays. It was built around a deck of cards, a homemade cape, and a young performer trying to control a room. Long before fame tested his privacy and relationships, he had learned to hide nerves behind timing, confidence, and a carefully practiced smile that revealed little. Soon, however, the stage would be replaced by something far more serious, and Johnny would learn that keeping calm was not always part of a performance. War, magic, and a terrible duty. Johnny joined the United States Navy in June 1943 and entered officer training through the V-12 program. Near the end of the war, he was commissioned as an ensign and assigned to the USS Pennsylvania in the Pacific. He arrived on August 14, 1945, the same day Japan announced its surrender. But there was little celebration waiting for him. Before Johnny reached the ship, a torpedo bomber had badly damaged its stern. Once the Pennsylvania entered dry dock in Guam, he was assigned to damage control. His hardest duty was supervising the removal of the bodies and belongings of 20 servicemen who had been trapped below for 18 days. In a 1967 Time interview, Johnny called it an awful experience and said it was a terrible job. He later returned to Seattle with the ship, helped command a troop train carrying servicemen home, and finished his service in Guam decoding secret messages. Yet even during this serious chapter, entertainment stayed with him. Johnny said the high point of his Navy years came when Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal asked about his plans after the war. Johnny said he wanted to become a magician. Forrestal asked for a demonstration, so Johnny performed a card trick. He later remembered the satisfaction of amusing someone he viewed as difficult and highly experienced. That moment reminded Johnny that his real strength was not only performing tricks, it was holding attention. The Navy had exposed him to discipline, danger, and loss, but it had not taken away his need to entertain. When he left military life, he finally had the chance to turn that side of himself into a real career. A young marriage, already under pressure. After the Navy, Johnny used his education benefits to attend the University of Nebraska. He joined Phi Gamma Delta and kept performing magic, now earning $25 for each appearance. At first, he majored in journalism because he wanted to write comedy. Soon, he switched to speech and drama because radio had begun to attract him instead. His college thesis was called How to Write Comedy for Radio. It combined recorded jokes and sketches from popular programs with Johnny explaining why the comedy worked. The project allowed him to finish his degree in 3 years. In 1949, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in radio and speech and a minor in physics. That same year, his private life also took a major step. On October 3rd, he married Joan Jody Wolcott, whom he had met at the university. She belonged to the Pi Beta Phi sorority, and their wedding took place in North Platte, Nebraska. Their son, Christopher, was born in 1950. Richard, usually called Ricky, followed in 1951, and Corey arrived in 1953. While Johnny was becoming a husband and father, his broadcasting career began in Omaha. In 1950, he joined WOW Radio and Television. He soon hosted a morning program called The Squirrel's Nest. One routine had him interview pigeons on the courthouse roof as if they had witnessed local political corruption. The joke was playful, but it showed the style that would later make him famous. Johnny could sound calm while quietly making someone look foolish. To earn more money, he also worked as master of ceremonies at church dinners. Some of the politicians and civic leaders attending those events were the same people he had mocked on the air. That mix of charm and danger became part of his appeal. He could tease powerful people, then stand beside them with an easy smile. Johnny had been raised Methodist and attended Christian Endeavor meetings in high school. But as an adult, he was not a regular churchgoer. The family image looked settled from outside. Behind it, however, pressure was building as his work demanded more time and attention at home. One accident changed Johnny's career forever. A useful connection helped Johnny leave Omaha. The wife of a politician he had mocked owned stock in a Los Angeles radio station. In 1951, she referred him to her brother, who had influence in the growing television business in Southern California. Johnny joined KNXT, the CBS-owned station in Los Angeles, and created a low-budget comedy program called Carson's Cellar. The show ran from 1951 to 1953 and caught the attention of comic Red Skelton. Skelton liked Johnny's work and hired him as a writer in 1953. Then, in 1954, an accident created a sudden test. Skelton knocked himself unconscious during rehearsal only 1 hour before a live broadcast. Johnny stepped in and hosted the show. He did not collapse under the pressure. He proved that he could walk onto a stage with no warning and still keep the program moving. Jack Benny noticed him too. In 1955, Benny invited Johnny onto his show for the opening and closing sections. Johnny copied Benny's gestures and joked that Benny had copied him. Benny, whose style strongly influenced Johnny, predicted that Carson would become a successful comedian. Still, success remained uneven. Johnny hosted the game show Earn Your Vacation in 1954 and a primetime variety program called The Johnny Carson Show from 1955 to 1956. The variety show failed, leaving him unsure of his next step. He later appeared as a guest panelist on To Tell the Truth, becoming a regular panelist from 1961 to 1962. After the failure of his primetime show, he moved to New York to host ABC's Who Do You Trust? From 1957 to 1962, Johnny worried that daytime television would damage his career, but the program became a hit. It was also where he met announcer Ed McMahon, who became his trusted sidekick. More importantly, the show gave Johnny room to interview guests and speak without a strict script. His quick answers and relaxed style turned it into one of daytime television's hottest programs. Yet as the audience grew, his first marriage became harder to hold together, and the next opportunity would place even more pressure on everything behind the scenes. The job he nearly refused. NBC's Tonight had started in 1954 with Steve Allen and later became a major success under Jack Paar. When Paar prepared to leave in 1962, NBC wanted Johnny to replace him. Johnny said no at first. He feared having to interview celebrities for 105 minutes and doubted that he could keep the show fresh. Other hosts, including Bob Newhart, Jackie Gleason, Groucho Marx, and Joey Bishop, also turned it down. NBC persisted until Johnny signed in early February 1962. Because he still had 6 months left on his ABC contract, several guest hosts filled the gap. Johnny took over on October 1st, 1962. The first year was difficult, but he slowly found the calm style that would define him. Ed McMahon followed him from Who Do You Trust? And opened each show with the famous call, "Here's Johnny." Carson delivered a short monologue, moved into sketches, interviews, and music, then often ended the monologue with his pretend golf swing toward the band. That same period brought major changes at home. His marriage to Jody had become deeply troubled. The 2024 biography Carson the Magnificent described boozy rows, long silences, resentment, and shame. It also said both partners were unfaithful. Authors Bill Zamey and Mike Thomas wrote that alcohol could bring out a frightening side of Johnny. Jody was also described as flirting with other men and provoking him during parties. Their marriage ended in May 1963, after 14 years. By then, Johnny was no longer a struggling broadcaster. He was becoming the face of late-night television. Only months after the divorce, on August 17, 1963, he married Joanne Copeland, a model, former Pan American stewardess, and television host. They had first dated in 1960, after her father tried to bring them together. At first, Joanne joked that she worked for CBS and did not mix with someone on daytime ABC. Soon, however, they became inseparable. She encouraged Johnny to accept The Tonight Show, even when he feared the job might cost him their relationship. The show did not cost him Joanne immediately, but it would soon enter their marriage in ways neither expected. America loved him, but marriage became a nightmare. As The Tonight Show grew, Johnny became more than a host. He became a nightly habit. His quick jokes made weak moments look planned, and his calm voice helped nervous guests relax. When a monologue failed, the band might play Tea for Two while he danced. Sometimes he pulled the microphone close and announced, "Attention Kmart shoppers, clean up in aisle 4. Paul Anka wrote the show's theme, based on the song Toot Sweet. Johnny had written unused lyrics for it and received half of the performance royalties. It remained through his final broadcast. Filmmaker Billy Wilder praised Carson's preparation and said even rehearsed material sounded natural. Yet, the greater Johnny's public control became, the less control he seemed to have at home. Joanne later said the show placed her between Johnny and his staff, leaving her to absorb complaints from both sides. She also described his drinking as a nightmare. According to Carson the Magnificent, she said, "I was married to two different people." She claimed alcohol could turn him angry, cause blackouts, and lead him to wake her in the middle of the night. By morning, he often felt ashamed and promised that he hated hurting her. In 1969, Johnny also showed how strongly he reacted when he believed he had been treated unfairly. He attacked the New York Times on air after it reported that he earned $75,000 a week. He denied the figure but refused to reveal his real pay. The newspaper later admitted a reporting error. Then, in 1970, jealousy pushed his private life into darker territory. His lawyer, Henry Bushkin, later wrote that Johnny suspected Joanne was seeing former football star Frank Gifford. Johnny, Bushkin, a private investigator, a lockpicker, and a photographer entered her secret apartment after paying the building manager. Bushkin said Johnny wore a revolver under his coat. Inside, they found evidence of the affair. Johnny leaned against a wall and cried. Later that night, he asked, "Why Frank Gifford? What's that a-hole got that I don't have?" The next morning, he ordered Bushkin never to repeat their conversation. A new wife could not stop the trouble. As his marriage to Joanne collapsed, Johnny met former model Joanna Holland. In the autumn of 1971, he saw her at the 21 Club in New York while dining with friends. Molly Parnas arranged their first call. Their first date in late October became part dinner, part show, and part celebration of Johnny's 46th birthday. After that, he reportedly called Joanna every day at 4:30 in the afternoon for a year. She had been married before and had a son named Tim. Johnny's divorce from Joanne took years to finish. When it ended in 1972, Joanne received nearly $500,000, yearly alimony, and an art collection. She later remembered one of Johnny's jokes about the split. "She left me with a hassock and a hairnet." That same year, The Tonight Show moved from New York to NBC's studios in Burbank, California, so the program could be closer to celebrities. Joanna did not want to leave New York, but she said Johnny told her she and Tim were coming to California and they would marry. On September 30th, 1972, during the show's 10th anniversary party, Johnny surprised his friends by announcing that he and Joanna had secretly married that afternoon in Santa Monica. They moved into a Bel Air mansion and built a polished social life around dinners, travel, and close friends. Joanna introduced Johnny to European trips, including visits to Antibes and Wimbledon, where he enjoyed being less recognized. Yet even during this fresh start, his enormous public influence sometimes created strange trouble. In December 1973, he joked that there was a toilet paper shortage. Viewers believed him. Stores were emptied, panic buying spread, and a real shortage followed. Johnny apologized the next month. That same year, self-described psychic Uri Geller appeared on the show. Because Johnny had once been a magician, he was doubtful of Geller's powers. With help from skeptic James Randi, the staff prepared its own props. Geller could not perform, and later said he felt humiliated. Ironically, the failure made him more famous, proving that even Johnny could not always control what happened after the cameras stopped. The king of late night was hard to know. By the mid-1970s, Johnny was the highest-paid personality on television, earning about $4 million a year before nightclub work and other business income. He refused film roles in The Thomas Crown Affair, Blazing Saddles, and Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy. Television was the place where he felt strongest. Off camera, however, he was different. Dick Cavett said Johnny was socially uncomfortable, while writer George Axelrod joked that he would have been the greatest conversationalist alive if people had red camera lights on their foreheads. Musician John Oates later remembered that Johnny could be quiet until the countdown began. Then the lights came on, and he instantly became the man viewers knew. When the show cut to a break, that energy disappeared. Johnny protected this private side fiercely. He avoided most parties and rarely discussed his childhood, politics, or relationships. He once gave reporters a list of prepared answers, including, "Yes, I did," "Not a bit of truth in that rumor," and "No kumquats," and suggested they invent suitable questions. His political views were also more complex than his television image suggested. He opposed the Vietnam War and capital punishment, supported racial equality, and did not believe extramarital sex or pornography should be crimes. Still, he avoided turning the show into a political platform. He said he had everything to lose by being pinned down. Former lawyer Henry Bushkin later described him as a Republican of the Eisenhower type, and against anything he saw as too big or bullying. In 1979, he admitted on 60 Minutes that drinking could quickly change him. His jokes also had limits. Fred Rogers disliked a parody that made Mr. Rogers seem weak, and Johnny later apologized. Raymond Burr became tired of jokes about his weight and appeared on the show only twice. Johnny successfully sued a portable toilet company that wanted to use the name Here's Johnny. He could apologize when he believed he had crossed a line, but he could also hold a grudge for years. That difference would soon turn private anger into some of the most famous feuds of his career. Feuds, threats, and a famous grudge. Johnny's power at NBC became clear in 1979 when he announced plans to leave after 17 years. Analysts believed the show produced about 17% of NBC's pre-tax profits. In 1980, he signed a 3-year deal that cut the program from 90 minutes to 60 and reduced his workload. Guest hosts carried more nights. In 1981, Johnny served as Master of Ceremonies at Ronald Reagan's inaugural gala. Even with fewer appearances, his influence remained huge. The same period also brought one of his bitterest public fights. Johnny had tried to buy the Aladdin Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, but a group led by Wayne Newton purchased it instead. Bushkin said Johnny hated reports suggesting he had lost the deal. He began making jokes about Newton on television. Newton later called him a mean-spirited human being and said Johnny had hurt people the public never knew about. Newton claimed he finally entered Johnny's NBC office and threatened to beat him unless the jokes stopped. Johnny's dislike of fellow NBC host Tom Snyder was also strong. During one night at a Los Angeles bar, after several glasses of wine, Johnny loudly attacked Snyder's talent and called his work boring. His private opinion became a public scene. Stories also grew about a Tonight Show ban list. A later book by Mark Malkoff and David Ritz said producer Peter Lassily confirmed that certain famous guests had fallen out of favor. Reported names included Jay Leno, Ellen DeGeneres, William Shatner, Carl Sagan, Dana Carvey, Orson Welles, Jerry Lewis, and Steve Allen. The reasons ranged from breaking show rules to upsetting crew members or correcting Johnny on air. Whether every name remained banned in exactly the same way, the list supported a larger truth about Johnny's world. The relaxed host could be strict about control. He expected guests and co-workers to respect the program, and he did not easily forget a slight. Yet Johnny's most famous act of revenge would not target a difficult guest. It would target the woman who often replaced him. But before that feud exploded, his drinking and third marriage began falling apart. Drinking, divorce, and the feud that turned personal. By 1982, the warning signs had moved beyond arguments. Joanna Holland said Johnny's drinking changed him, just as Joanne had described before her. When alcohol took over, the warm television host could quickly become cold and angry. His third marriage was already weakening, and public scandal was approaching. The trouble became public on February 27, 1982, when police stopped him after leaving an Italian restaurant near Beverly Hills. He was arrested for drunk driving and later pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor alcohol count above the legal limit. He received 3 years of probation, a $603 fine, alcohol education classes, and a 90-day restriction allowing him to drive only to work and the classes. Lawyer Robert Shapiro believed they could win at trial, but Johnny wanted the scandal finished. On his show, he said, "I regret the incident and promised, 'You will never see me do that again.'" That same year, Joanna pushed for separation, reportedly because of his infidelity. Johnny moved from their Bel Air home to the Malibu beach house, and she filed for divorce in March 1983. The case ended in August 1985 with an 80-page settlement. Joanna's $20 million settlement covered cash, several properties, cars, and monthly alimony payments spread across more than 5 years. Johnny later turned the costly settlement into jokes, once again using comedy to control a painful subject. Then came another split, this time at work. Joan Rivers had served as his permanent guest host from 1983. In 1986, she accepted her own Fox talk show, which would compete directly with Johnny. He reportedly saw the move as disloyal and never spoke to her again, even after she tried to apologize. John Davidson also fell out of favor after starting his own program. Rivers later praised Ed McMahon after his death, but said Johnny had completely shut her out. The man who made guests feel welcome could also close a door forever. By the time the divorce and feud were over, Johnny had 3 failed marriages behind him. Then a quiet meeting in Malibu brought the woman who would remain beside him until the end. The woman beside him at the end. After his third divorce, Johnny met Alexis Moss in Malibu. Reports said he noticed her on the beach, and their relationship grew outside the loud social world around The Tonight Show. Alexis had worked at a brokerage firm and had not married. On June 20th, 1987, the 61-year-old host married her in a secret ceremony at his Malibu home overlooking the Pacific. Only Johnny's brother Dick, Judge William Hogaboom, and the judge's wife were present. Alexis's parents listened through a speakerphone, and her father gave her away from a distance. The judge later said Johnny wanted to avoid publicity and did not stumble over his vows. Afterward, the couple traveled to England and attended Wimbledon. They also enjoyed other trips, and Johnny reportedly learned Swahili for visits to Africa. Producer George Schlatter later told People that although Johnny loved his show and loved jokes, the real love of his life was Alex. This marriage arrived when his career had already become an American institution. In 1987, he received a personal Peabody Award marking 25 years on The Tonight Show. The board praised his effect on television, humor, and American life. Jay Leno became the main guest host that year, while Johnny continued reducing his schedule. Yet no award or comfortable marriage could protect him from his deepest family loss. In June 1991, his son Ricky died when his vehicle went down an embankment near Cayucos, California, while he was taking nature photographs along the coast. Ricky was 39. When Johnny returned to the show, he thanked viewers for their sympathy and showed a better picture of his son than the license photograph used in reports. He then shared Ricky's nature photography. Fighting tears, he also mentioned that Michael Landon had called to comfort him and died 1 week later. The tribute ran long, and producer Fred de Cordova signaled for Johnny to finish. Johnny was so upset that DeCordova was kept off the studio floor for the rest of the show's run. The host, who controlled every second of television, had reached a moment that could not be neatly timed. His final goodbye left Alexis with the secrets. Johnny retired from The Tonight Show on May 22, 1992, at age 66. The farewell stretched across several emotional nights. His last guests were Robin Williams and Bette Midler, while the final program focused on Johnny, Ed McMahon, and band leader Doc Severinsen. Several competing late-night shows went dark during that hour. Johnny brought his surviving sons, Christopher and Corey, onto the stage during the final broadcasts, and one of Ricky's photographs appeared in the closing credits. He hinted that the right idea might bring him back, but he chose full retirement instead. He lived quietly with Alexis throughout the rest of retirement, played tennis, traveled, reviewed old Tonight Show clips for DVD collections, and wrote humor pieces for The New Yorker. He rarely gave interviews and refused NBC's 75th anniversary celebration in 2002. His few appearances became events. In 1993, he voiced himself on The Simpsons, called David Letterman, and appeared in a Bob Hope special. In May 1994, he walked onto Letterman's stage to a 90-second standing ovation, sat behind the desk, said nothing, and left. He later blamed laryngitis. It became his last television appearance. Johnny also sent jokes to Letterman, whom he believed should have succeeded him. After Johnny died, Letterman used a full monologue of Carson's jokes. Away from television, Johnny's health worsened. A heavy smoker for decades, he had once smoked 4 packs a day. In March 1999, he suffered a severe heart attack and underwent quadruple bypass surgery. In 2002, he revealed that he had emphysema. On January 23, 2005, he died at 79 from respiratory failure caused by the disease. His body was cremated, and his ashes were given to Alexis. At the family's request, there was no public memorial. Alexis did not turn his death into a career or publish a dramatic tell-all. Even after years of public curiosity, she offered no sweeping confession about the man she had known. Instead, the clearest message was the life she chose afterward. She avoided interviews, television appearances, accusations, and public battles, leaving Johnny's final marriage protected from the exposure that had followed so many of his earlier relationships. Did Alexis protect Johnny's final years out of love? Or did her silence leave the public with even more questions? And after learning about his marriages, feuds, losses, and private struggles, do you see Johnny Carson differently now? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time.